The deep state, even deeper than we thought. We can call it the deepest state. Members of the deep state, the swamp, they're actually out there bragging to members of the media how they thwarted President Trump's agenda, how they tried to prevent him from achieving the promises that he made to all of us, to you, to me. In the deep state, they didn't want those things to happen. Pretty wild. Now, in the swamp, there is a website called Axios, which actually, they get a pretty good scoop every now and then, and the swamp loves talking to these guys. And we're finding out some interesting things about General Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that he was out to undermine this president's agenda. Now, according to Axios, General Milley was bad-mouthing civilian leadership every chance he got, so much so that Afghan leadership found out about this, and it could have thwarted things like getting troops out of Afghanistan. Milley was said to be appalled whenever Donald Trump ordered him to do something. Oh, not so fast, Mr. President. Also this, remember Steve Bannon, top advisor to President Trump? He says that he frequently demanded the Pentagon answer basic facts about the U.S. presence in Afghanistan, including where billions of dollars in U.S. aid were going and how many troops and contractors were on the ground. They literally would not give you any information, Bannon reports, and the information they gave you was BS. In every presentation, they say you're 18 months away from turning the war around. Always. You're always 18 months away. They tried to sabotage his presidency in so many ways. Oh, and here's something. There's a guy named Jim Jeffrey. Now, look at how bold they got. Senior official Jim Jeffrey, he was in charge of, he was the envoy to Syria and the anti-ISIS coalition. He told Defense One in a post-election interview back in November, "We were always playing shell games to not make clear to our leadership how many troops we had there in Syria." He said, adding that the real number of troops in northeast Syria is a lot more than the roughly 200 Trump initially agreed to leave there in 2019. They were always playing games. They thought they knew better, and they thought they were sometimes more powerful than the commander-in-chief, it seems. Pretty interesting, especially regarding Milley. General Milley, remember this? I had suspicions about him for a long time. This is after that big riot across the street from the White House, and National Guard troops were used to clear it. National Guard troops were later desperately requested at the Capitol. Remember that? Anyway, this is a pretty harmless picture, in my opinion. The president, the defense secretary, and General Milley. General Milley needed to signal to the swamp that he wasn't loyal to the president. He should be, no matter who the president is, that he was loyal to the swamp with this ridiculous video.
As many of you saw, the result of the photograph of me at Lafayette Square last week, that sparked a national debate about the role of the military in civil society. I should not have been there. My presence in that moment and in that environment created a perception of the military involved in domestic politics.
Oh, you're involved in domestic politics, all right, General Milley. Very strange. That message wasn't to the troops, it was to the swamp, and I feel his agenda was not America, but Mark Milley somehow. He has no problem appearing with politicians. Here he is giggling. Kamala Harris seems to be absolutely charmed by him at the inauguration. Isn't that something? And the swamp needs to convey something else, that January 6th of this year was the worst thing that ever happened. They've been lying about it in so many different ways, and we're finding out the truth. Slowly but surely we are. Now, you may have seen this picture, which seemed to show Capitol Police kind of offering directions to where the Senate chamber was located. Now we're seeing video that backs this picture up, and the idea that, yes, Capitol Hill Police may have been, some of them, cooperating with these guys.
Everybody, listen up. The police here are willing to work with us and cooperate peacefully, like our First Amendment allows. Gather more Americans under the condition that they will come and gather peacefully to discuss what needs to be done to save our country.
One other or the other. You need a show. You understand? Then show us no attacking, no assault, remain calm.
We're not going to assault. We're going to be heard. Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This has to be peaceful.
This has
We have the right to peacefully assemble.
Now that guy's kind of crazy with the makeup and the horns and all that stuff, but I've seen so many videos and so many pictures. I've yet to see him breaking anything or hurting anyone. And some of these guys are still in jail all these months later. Doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem right at all. All right, so that's what's happening in Washington, D.C. What's happening everywhere, a corrupt culture. Every now and then I'm reminded just how corrupt and anti-Christian it can be sometimes. Anti-Christian, yes. It's going around cable, looking at whatever. I don't do that as much as I used to. You know, we watch Netflix and stuff like that. But I saw a movie, and it really bothered me. I only watched about 2 minutes of it, but this is the scene that bothered me.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Ah! Oh! Oh, sorry, I had a bite of my bagel and I forgot to pray. Oh, dear Jesus, please forgive me for not praying before I had a bite of my bagel and schmear. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Now, of course, that's not what it means. That's not how it works. This I found it kind of offensive, you know what I mean? But now it's even more than offensive. It's really sad because they're preventing people from understanding what the real message is, what Christianity is all about. Peace, love, joy, forgiveness, a relationship with God. Those things are available, but they make it a joke. They make it a joke. You could write a book about this. They do it all the time. One other example that I happened to see this weekend as well, Gran Torino. Actually a pretty good movie. I saw it so long ago that this scene did not bother me as much as it does now. Clint Eastwood, the old guy in the neighborhood, and the gang comes at him, and it's interesting, but it starts with his wife dying, and this is the funeral.
Spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch.
So that's a funeral for grandparents. And they're saying vulgar things, they're laughing, they're giggling. Look at how they're dressed. You know, I've been to lots of funerals, I'm sure you have as well. Your grandparents may no longer be with us. Look at these kids laughing in the pew. And that's just not, this is not typical. This is actually outlandish, and it's very, very offensive. But these movies, I'm not saying they should be canceled or deleted or anything like that, but they might want to have a bit more respect. I think they have a lot more respect for other religions. Have you ever noticed that? Or other cultures? Now, movie companies are bending over backwards to delete and alter for any offense. Take a look at some of these, shall we? We got The Jungle Book, Peter Pan, Dumbo. Let's see, The Jungle Book. They recently made amends because it perpetuates offensive racist stereotypes of African Americans. Peter Pan portrays stereotypical depictions of Native people as well. Disney, they came out with all of this stuff. Dumbo was considered racist. The Crows, a musical number, pay homage to racist minstrel shows, they now say. None of this stuff was apparent before. But the films that make fun of Christianity, actually from Disney, go on and on and on. And not just Disney, all of them. All of the big companies out there do it. So every now and then, though, they do something nice, and I want to call attention to that. Mel Gibson, filmmaker, he's got a lot of faults. Hey, we all do. But I want to tell you this. We Were Soldiers is a magnificent film, and one of the few that treats Christianity with reverence and respect, not derision and mocking.
Our Father in heaven, before we go into battle, every soldier among us will approach you each in his own way. Our enemies, too, according to their own understanding, will ask for protection and for victory. And so we bow before your infinite wisdom. We offer our prayers as best we can.
The movie is called We Were Soldiers. I actually haven't seen the whole thing. I look forward to it.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.